From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
All right, time once again for Campo's Corner here with Coach Dave Campo. Of course, at Tommy Max at my bar, like we always are. Brought to our good friends at Dasher and Hot Spring Spas of Jacksonville. Let's get into some little ball talk with Coach Campo. Coach, always good to see you, my friend.
Same, Tom.
Thanks for being at the corner of the bar.
Hey,
I enjoy it.
I'm at the corner.
All right, so let's talk Ryan Nielsen, the new defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The more I'm reading about him, the more I'm learning about him, the more I like about him. Everyone's like, look, he's aggressive. Everyone's going to say aggressive, but what I keep hearing is that you got to have thick skin when you play for him. You got to be intense. He's going to hold you accountable, and he's a great teacher while doing all of that. To me, that's exactly what the doctor ordered for this team.
Well, you know, I know a little bit about him.
Yep.
And, you know, we've talked before about the fact that defensive line coaches don't always get the opportunity to be a coordinator.
Right.
Because they deal so much with just the front end
right.
that, you know, it's important that they get other guys around them. Well, this guy is pretty sharp with the whole picture.
Yep.
And the one thing about, you know, with a defensive line coach, you're going to get a little bit of intensity.
Sure.
And I think that's what was missing this year from the Jaguars. I think he will bring about that toughness and intensity that was missing.
And accountability, which is everything at
absolutely,
that level
absolutely.
For sure. I hear one of his influences was Monty Kiffin, the great defense coordinator. So Monty was known for the Tampa 2. So I'm not saying we're going to play the Tampa 2, but you got to imagine that if that's one of his influences, we'll see some of that. The old Tampa 2 was what? It was playing corners uptight. They had to force on the run, so they had to be physical. They had to be able to press cover. They had to be a jam at the line of scrimmage. But the defensive front was what? We play the run on our way to the quarterback. Do you think we're going to see a little bit of that from Ryan Nielsen?
Well, first of all, you know, everybody's got the impression that this guy is a man cover guy. It's not man. He plays zone with man principles. You know, so the corners are going to be up. They're going to be aggressive. He prides himself on getting to the quarterback, so we're going to definitely see some aggressive play. I think that they need to be a little bit more physical up front. Hopefully they're going to be able to get some guys either in free agency or in the draft to help him there.
Other than cover 3, Coach, I mean, people are always like zone. Well, look, in cover 2, you got the man in your zone. It becomes man-to-man. Now, you may have to switch off him depending on what route he's running, but it's still man-to-man type thinking, right?
Well, it's match. You know, even with the cover 3 stuff now, if you really know what you're doing, you're matching routes, even though it's a 3 deep, and you think, well, I'm a spot dropper. No. You're matching. If 2 goes out here, 1's coming in. If 2 crosses over here, something's coming back.
That's right.
All that stuff is based on man principles within the zone.
It's reverse progression. Like the quarterback does it that way, we go back the other way, right?
You're talking my language now, progressions.
I know. That's right. I love talking about with you. All right, so does it matter what front? Like everyone's like, you know, today they play everything. I think you got to have a base. Base 4-3 is my preference. I just would rather play a base 4-3 than a base 3-4. But what do you expect out of Coach Nielsen?
Well, his background is 4-3. And I think he's going to be smart enough to do what they have there. Now, the thing that I am excited about is they can take Walker. Trayvon Walker, you know, he's been standing up. They can put his hand on the ground, so he could be a 4-3 defensive end. Now, that allows a guy like Hamilton to be a nose guard, and now get yourself a 3 technique that has some excitement and acceleration, you know, and that's what they'll be looking for.
So I still think this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think Hamilton would be a tremendous 3 technique.
He could be.
Because of his size, and look, one thing that stood out when he's coming out of Ohio State, I'm not a big college guy, but but I remember reading about him, had like 6.5 sacks, same with Boza on the outside.
Right.
And they worked together, of course, but to me, I was like, okay, this kid's got some. He's big enough, he's fast enough, athletic enough. I think that nose is challenging for him because he stands up too much.
Yeah.
And you know you know as well as I do, you stand up as a nose, you're going for a ride.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But regardless, they need to add one of the, I don't care if it's a 1 technique on the nose or the 3 technique, they've got to add some beef out of those positions.
Yeah, they need physical up front. And that's one thing that they have to look at, whether it's the first round, the second round, third round.
Yeah.
They've got to get better in the interior, both offensively and defensively, but especially defensively. I'm happy with the outside pass rushers and the ability to play the run with those two guys, with Walker and Josh Allen. Hopefully Josh Allen will be with us. I'm sure he will be.
Yeah.
But they need some of that beef up front to make, to be able to handle that interior.
All right, let's flip it to offense real quick because I haven't asked you this yet publicly, and I don't think I've asked you privately, but what would you do with Ridley, Coach? If you're making the call, what are you doing with Calvin Ridley if you're the GM of the Jags?
Well, I'm keeping him.
Me too.
I think you're looking at a guy that, you can't make a total determination on him after coming off of a situation where he didn't play 1.5 years, and all of a sudden he's there.
Right.
The guy who's out there. Who are you going to replace him with?
No, there isn't.
Number one, it's going to depend on what you do with Josh Allen.
Yep.
Are you paying him a lot of money, which I'm sure they're going to? What are you doing with the quarterback?
Yep.
But if there's any way, shape, or form, I think you keep the guy and you sign him, and maybe it's not a exorbitant contract, but it's a good one.
I just don't want him to be here for a year and then he goes somewhere else and totally kicks ass.
Absolutely.
Like, why did he stay here?
Absolutely.
Because you're right. If he hits free agency, he'll be the top one because Mike Evans will be no, they're not going to let him go.
T. Higgins is
going to stay in Cincy.
Absolutely.
Calvin Ridley will be the number 1 free agent wide receiver in that class.
Right. I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to franchise Josh Allen
and work out a deal.
And then work a deal with him, which will allow them to make a deal with Ridley before he gets out into free agency.
Well,
that's would be the ideal situation.
I'm sure they're working on it.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that comes to fruition. Great to have you, Coach.
Yeah,
Always a pleasure, man.
Always.
Coach's Campo's Corner here on the Horse's Mouth each and every week. Again, brought to you by Dasher and Hot Spring Spas of Jacksonville. Talking Jag ball. It's always a good time here at my bar. So until next time, you stay safe and be cool out there. We'll see you right here on the Horse's Mouth. Cheers.
Cheers.
The coach should be going to bed at night thinking about the athlete and how they're going to help that athlete improve. They shouldn't be worrying about how am I going to quantify their improvement, or am I going to have to keep up with all this information? Those things that are kind of background to the coach focusing there on the athlete. And so what Dasher does is it takes all those side things away, allowing the coach to focus then on the athlete.